Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today we are going to be picking the best NHL player from every team not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Now you'd be surprised how many elite, fantastic players are out there that have just not gotten in the Hall of Fame yet. So who do I see as the best players ever that have not gotten the nod, and who do I see as the best player from every team not in the Hockey Hall of Fame? Watch till the end for all the picks and all the Hall of Fame craziness, and of course hit that big red subscribe button for more content just like this one. Now I'm going to lay some ground rules right here and right now. First up, these players need to be retired from playing hockey. I'm not going to have Pavel Datsyuk, who's still in the KHL and is still an absolute beast on this list because that would basically be cheating. And second up, for the players that I assign for each team, they have to have played the most games for them with each team. So for St. Louis, if a player played 350 games with them and then played 400 with somebody else, they would not be qualifying for St. Louis's pick. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. But we're going to start out with divisions, and I'm going to start off with the Metro and starting out with the New York Rangers. And for their best player not in the Hockey Hall of Fame, I'm going to go for USA goaltender Mike Richter. Obviously, the man in the 1994 Cup run, and over his career with New York was very, very solid. 666 games played with a .904 save percentage. Was one of the best goalies of the time, one of the best USA goalies of all time as well. And to me, especially with that Cup win, has enough accolades to be in the Hall. I think he's more on the borderline side of things, but I think should be on the good side of things. Then going on to the New Jersey Devils, I mean, this is a pretty obvious pick to me. One of the most underrated players of, especially the 2000s, was Patrick Elias. To me, Elias was an extremely underrated player, especially in his prime, where his offensive numbers as well went pretty underrated because he never put up like 100 points or anything. But that's still a player that, in his prime, was magnificent for New Jersey, won 2 Stanley Cups, and got over 1,000 points. To me, he's a player that should be in, isn't a slam dunk or anything, but definitely in his prime was one of the best players out there, and for New Jersey was extremely valuable, especially as their captain. Then going on to the New York Islanders, my pick is going to be John Tonelli. He played 594 games for them, 544 points, ended up getting 4 cups in his time there. And Tonelli is a guy that I personally wouldn't have in the Hockey Hall of Fame. There's not a lot of guys that the Islanders have had since those cup wins that either have been great since then, or if they're with the dynasty and were great, haven't been in. Tonelli's kind of in that middle ground. He was fantastic for the Islanders in his prime, but over a full career wasn't quite Hall of Fame worthy in my opinion, but was still a fantastic player, and I think definitely deserves to be in the conversation. Then going on to the Philadelphia Flyers, we're going to a player that absolutely should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, though, and a guy that really doesn't get his name thrown out there too much in Brian Propp. Now, he played 1,016 games with the Flyers, and ended up getting 1,004 points. And the playoffs were the big thing for him, where in 116 career playoff games, he got 112 points, was an absolute beauty. And that's a player that I think holds the record for the most Stanley Cup final appearances with the least amount, or with 0 cups, because he never won a Stanley Cup, never got any individual achievements, but he's still a guy that was great for the Flyers in his prime, and absolutely, I think, deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, especially for what he did in the playoffs. Next up, we're going to go to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and for Pittsburgh, we have another goaltender in Tom Barrasso. Now, Barrasso ended up playing 460 games for the Pens, got an .895 save percentage, which at the time was incredible, ended up winning the 2 Stanley Cups, got the 1984 Vezina and the Calder Trophy with the Buffalo Sabres. That's a player that has pretty much all the accolades in the world for a goaltender. Vezina, Calder, the Cup wins. That's a player that in his prime was fantastic and had a pretty long career too. I'm really not sure how he didn't get in the Hockey Hall of Fame, to be honest. Sure, he wasn't the best goaltender of all time, but especially in his prime, was one of the best out there. And I think, obviously, for Pittsburgh Penguins fans, they would definitely agree for him to be in there for sure. Then going on to the Washington Capitals, I have my man, Peter Bondra. Now, Peter Bondra was an electrifying player. I don't know why my computer just turned off. I don't know why it always does this either. But Peter Bondra got 961 games played, 825 points with the Washington Capitals, and just over his career was a very solid, especially goal scorer in his prime. To me, Bondra, you could also have Sergei Gonchar for the Washington spot, and that's also pretty good pick. But to me, Bondra was just a more electrifying player, was just so fun to watch, and I think should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Then going on to the Carolina Hurricanes, to me, this is also a pretty obvious pick, and it's got to be Rod Brind'Amour. I mean, especially with what he's done as a coach, too. I mean, he's got to be in there at some point. But in terms of what he did with the Carolina Hurricanes, he ended up getting, and with the Canes at least, 694 games played, 473 points. Obviously played with Philly as well. That was the main one beforehand. And just with Rob Brind'Amour, I mean, he won the 06 Stanley Cup. He won 2 Selke trophies. That's a guy that was just a great overall player, great gritty player as well, and a fantastic captain for the Canes and fantastic coach now. To me, he might just become a Hockey Hall of Famer because of his coaching, but he should be in there for the player himself too. I mean, he's done so much for the Canes himself and just so much for hockey too. Definitely a class act and definitely deserves to be in the Hall in my opinion. Then going on the Columbus Blue Jackets, they don't really have anybody that's a slam dunk. The closest you get, of course, is Rick Nash though. In Columbus, he got 674 games played, 547 points. Of course, won the Maurice Richard Trophy in 2004. And to me, Rick Nash is an interesting case because he's about as close as you get. But to me, he's still in the hockey, or the hockey really good Hall of Fame. To me, he's not quite there when you look at his career in general. When it comes to skill, he's insane. But to me, it just doesn't stack up compared to some other players, even when you adjust for teammates, which you really didn't have too much in Columbus. Still, I think he's a fantastic player and definitely the choice for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And we're now going to go to the Atlantic Division, and we're going to get the easy one out of the way with the Buffalo Sabres, Alexander McGinley. To me, Alexander McGinley is just way too easy, but he absolutely deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. With the Buffalo Sabres, at the very least, he got 381 games played, 444 points in his career, got the 2000 Stanley Cup and 2003 Lady Byng. To me, he 100% deserves to be in. Was just a fantastic player in his prime, fantastic innovator coming from Russia to the NHL. He was just a fantastic person as well in his time in the NHL and obviously still now. But that's a player that I think deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, deserves to get the credit that he deserves, and just should get in. I mean, it's about time, and it's sad to see that he's not in it, at least at this point. But we're going to go now to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there really wasn't too much to go on. I mean, every great player they've really had is in the Hall of Fame, and they haven't really had that many great players, period. But to me, the closest you get is Felix Potvin. Now, Felix Potvin with Toronto got 369 games played in and a 908 save percentage, which especially at his time was one of the better ones in the NHL. Still, at the same time, he's not a Hall of Famer, but I think definitely is in the Hall of really good hockey players. Still a fantastic player by himself. Now we're going to go to the Montreal Canadiens, and it's a different story because Montreal's had a lot of great players, but almost everybody that they've had that's been great and deserving of the Hall of Fame has been put in, and it kind of makes it harder to go on who would be the pick for Montreal. You could go with Saku Koivu. That's a pretty interesting pick. But to me, Andrei Markov presents the most interesting case for Montreal. In his time with the Habs, he got 990 games played with 572 points. Just a fantastic overall offensive defenseman in his time with Montreal. And to me, that's a player that's probably not a Hall of Famer, but definitely deserves to be in the conversation. Still, Montreal doesn't have anybody that absolutely stands out that's not already in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But we're going to go down to the Boston Bruins, and this also is the same thing. A lot of the great Bruins have been in the Hall of Fame already. And to me, I mean, you could make a pretty great case for Rick Middleton, but I already talked about him in the worst trade video, so I'm kind of tired. So I'm now going to go with the man, the myth, the legend in Tim Thomas. Tim Thomas ended up playing 378 games for the Bruins with a .921 save percentage. In the end, he ended up winning the 2011 Cup, won the Conn Smythe that year as well, and has won 2 Vezina trophies. I mean, it is a meme, but the guy has a ton of accomplishments. He won the Cup, 2 Vezinas, a Conn Smythe trophy. Sure, he's not like the best goaltender of all time, but man, if I saw Tim Thomas in the Hall of Fame, that pretty much validates everything they've ever done, and it makes everything all right because Tim Thomas is a Hall of Famer. We're going to go now to the Detroit Red Wings, and for Detroit, obviously, I'm not going to count Pavel Datsyuk, but I will count Henrik Zetterberg. Now, the thing is, he hasn't officially been, I don't know, nominated for the Hall of Fame thing because he retired back in 2018, and he still has to wait for that. But I'm still going to include him here because he's an absolute stud, deserves to be mentioned. 1,082 games played, 960 points in that time, won the 2008 Stanley Cup, 2008 Conn Smythe. To me, Henrik Zetterberg, just like Pavel Datsyuk, was just insane in his prime. Fantastic two-way player. fantastic captain as well for Detroit. An absolute class act, and a guy that I think absolutely deserves to be in the Hall. We're now going to go to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and this one gets me absolutely pissed. How the heck is Vinny Lecavalier not in the Hall of Fame? I mean, when we look at what he's done, 1,378 games played, 874 points, 2004 Cup, 2007 Maurice Richard was fantastic in the playoffs just for Tampa in general. And that's a player that's just done so much for the organization, so much in hockey. Yeah, I might be a little bit biased as the Bolts are my second favorite team, but the point still stands. Vinny Lecavalier was an insane player in his prime. And I think that's a player that also, yeah, points-wise, isn't insane, but I feel like he was a player that really in his prime was so effective offensively, so solid all around, and was such a strong leader for Tampa that I personally think he deserves to be there. Now we're going to go on to the Ottawa Senators, and this is about as obvious as you get, folks. Daniel Alfredsson, how he isn't in the Hall of Fame pretty much makes it all just dumb at this point. I mean, well, we can list off the things. 1,178 games played and 1,108 points. He ended up getting the 1996 Calder. Of course, never won the Stanley Cup. Never got any insane individual achievements besides that Calder trophy. But he, in his prime, was just elite. That's really the only way I can explain it. Obviously, he was the captain for Ottawa, such a strong, true leader in his own sense, and was such a fantastic person as well in terms of community service and what he put in the Ottawa area. To me, he's one of the best players the Sens have ever had, and I think deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame for what he had to work with Ottawa, which there was some great players there, but he was insane. And I feel like Alfredsson definitely deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's a shame he hasn't been put in. Now we're going to go on the Florida Panthers, and this is definitely the biggest stretch in this entire video, because Florida really has nobody besides, well, I guess Roberto Luongo. Crap. So I just realized that Roberto Luongo retired, and I was about to say Olli Jokinen for the Florida Panthers, but I mean, could you blame me though? Like, Roberto Luongo has played forever, so I can kind of get a break here, please. My goodness. All right, Roberto Luongo is the choice for Florida. You get what you want. Come on. Anyways, we're now going to go to the Western Conference, starting with the Central Division, and I'm just going to get Winnipeg out of the way. Dustin Byfuglien. I mean, in his time with Winnipeg, he got 609 games played, 460 points, got the 2010 Cup. He's not a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Again, in the Hall of really good, but, I mean, for Winnipeg, was there really any other choice that's actually retired at this point? I don't think so, unless it's like Alexander Burmistrov or something, but even he's in the KHL. I mean, he's still a stud, but come on. I can't break my rules. I can't break my rules. So for Dustin Byfuglien, that's going to be my pick. And we're now going to go to the St. Louis Blues, and I think the obvious choice is Pierre Turgeon. Now, Turgeon was an interesting one because he ended up playing the most games out of any team with St. Louis. He got 327 games played, 355 points, and ended up getting the 1993 Lady Byng. Now, just like Alexander McGinley, didn't get any insane individual achievements. The Lady Byng still is pretty good, but no, like, Hart Trophy or anything. But to me, he absolutely deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, just for what he did career-wise, not just with St. Louis, but with Buffalo and all the others. He is a player that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, and, I mean, it's, again, more on the borderline side of things, but to me, he's still a Hall of Famer. He's still on the good side, and he still absolutely deserves to be there. So, for me, he's one of the more obvious ones in this list, and I will not back down from that statement. We're now going to go to the Chicago Blackhawks, and my pick is going to be Steve Larmer. Now, he ended up playing 891 games for the Blackhawks, 923 points, ended up winning the Cup with New York in 1994, won the Calder back in 1983. To me, Larmer was just a great player for the Blackhawks for a very long time. Was super consistent, got multiple great seasons in, and that's a player that just career-wise looked very, very good, but especially with the Blackhawks was magnificent. I think he's, again, more on the borderline side of things, but should be on the Hall of Fame side. Especially for Chicago, I think that's their pick for sure. We're now going to go to the Minnesota Wild, and, I mean, there's not much since they've only been in existence for a couple of years, but Marian Gaborik is the main one. He ended up playing 502 games for Mini, and in the end, got 437 points, won the Cup with LA in 2014, but he's not a Hall of Famer. Again, really good, but Hall of Famer, I mean, unless you're a Wild fan, I'm not really sure you justify that, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you do, but I'm not quite sure. And now we're going to go to the Colorado Avalanche, and my pick is going to be one of the more underrated players of his time in Alex Tanguay. Now, Tanguay was a seriously solid player for both Colorado and the Calgary Flames, mostly. In his time with Colorado career-wise, he got 598 games played, 488 points, and ended up winning the Cup in 2001. Again, no absolutely insane individual achievements, but that's a player that I think is borderline close. I think he's about as close as you get in terms of with his era. Yeah, the points are insane, but that's still a player that I think was really, really good overall. And personally, if I had the choice, yes or no, I would probably just barely say yes. To me, he's a player that probably should be in, but if you make the case that he isn't, I wouldn't really fight you too much. We're now going to go to the Dallas Stars, my favorite team in the NHL, and for my pick, it's going to be the guy that's on the banner right here, Yuri Letnin. To me, Yuri Letnin is one of the most underrated players of all time, and that's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. With Dallas, ended up getting 875 games played, 514 points, 1999 Cup winner, and 3 Selke trophies as a winger. People forget he was a winger and won 3 Selke trophies. Probably should have won more, by the way, and he was a winger. I mean, to me, Yuri Letnin defensively was one of the most pristine players of his time. Not even just in his time, just in general. And especially when you look at the best defensive wingers, I mean, Letnin's up there. Mark Stone might be up there, but it's Yuri Letnin. He's kind of created that mountain for himself. Absolutely deserves to get his number retired. Number 26, you must remember it, because that's a guy that, in my opinion, should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, how many wingers win 3 Selke trophies and probably should have won more? To me, that justifies it. Do not at me. We're now going to go to the Nashville Predators, and David Legwand. I mean, Pekka Rinne, yeah, would be the choice, but he's not retired yet. In 956 games, he got 566 points. Famous number 1 center, David Legwand for the Nashville Predators. There was nobody else on Nashville. Please don't fight me. He's not a Hall of Famer, though. Get out of here. We're now going to go to the Pacific Division, and starting us with the Edmonton Oilers. This is a team that hasn't really had too many players that are fantastic, that have been left off the list. A lot of that became, of course, through the dynasties. But to me, Ryan Smith is about as close as Edmonton gets. In his time there, he ended up getting 971 games played, 631 points. To me, not a Hall of Famer, but when we're talking about the Hall of Very Good, Ryan Smith is definitely up there. And especially in his time, went super underrated, especially now. We're now going to go to the Vancouver Canucks, though, and my pick is going to be Marcus Naslund. He ended up playing 884 games with the Canucks, ended up being captain, 556 points, ended up winning the 2003 Ted Lindsay Trophy. Not too many individual stuff, but to me, Naslund was an incredible overall player for the Canucks, especially in the 2000s, where they really didn't have too much to go off of. He was a player that was great and was a true leader of that team. And I think, especially in the Canucks history, kind of goes underrated in that aspect. We're now going to go to the Calgary Flames, and there's no more obvious choice than Theo Fleury. One of the smallest players in NHL history, and one of the better ones in NHL history. With the Flames, got 791 games played in and 830 points, ended up winning the 1989 Cup with Calgary as well, and was just a beast of a player. He's one of my favorite old-time hockey players, not because he's really old-timey, but he was just such a big, different player of that time too. Again, the size obviously with that, but he was an amazing speed guy, fantastic skill, worked his way up. And I think that's a player that absolutely deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, you'd think with that cup that he would get in, but I think with just how his career accolades, Calgary's already tried so many times to get him in the Hockey Hall of Fame. It hasn't happened already, and sadly, I doubt it ever will, man. Such a shame. Such a shame. We're now going to go to the San Jose Sharks, and they don't really have too much. I'm going to go with Owen Nolan, 586 games played with the or 68 games with the Sharks, 451 points. I don't think Owen Nolan's a Hall of Famer, but I do think he's incredibly underrated, especially with San Jose. That's a player that in the 2000s was pretty great, and again, he'd be in the Hockey Hall of really good, but still a player that goes pretty underrated when we look at the Stars of just a couple of decades back. We're now going to go to the LA Kings, and for me, my pick is going to be Bernie Nichols. Bernie Nichols was super underrated, not just because of what he did career-wise, but obviously a lot of the argument against him is that he played Wayne Gretzky, and that's when his stats really exploded. With LA, he ended up getting 602 games with 758 points. I mean, the thing is, yes, he did play Wayne Gretzky, but a lot of how Wayne Gretzky transitioned to LA, I mean, Bernie Nichols was a huge part of that team, a huge part of that offense for a very long time, and to me, LA wouldn't have been nearly the same without him. To me, I think should be a Hall of Famer. It isn't an absolutely slam dunk case, but when you're in the shadow of Wayne Gretzky, I mean, we kind of see with Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, it wasn't the exact same, but Bernie Nichols was an absolute stud. Now we're going to go to the Anaheim Ducks, and my pick is going to be Jean-Sebastien Giguère. Now, Giguère is about as close as you get for the Ducks. He ended up playing 447 games with them, with a .914 save percentage, won the 2007 Cup and the 2003 Conn Smythe Trophy without even winning the Stanley Cup. He's an absolute stud. To me, Giguère probably should be in the Hall of Fame. Again, it is debatable, but definitely is the best choice for the Anaheim Ducks. That's not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's an absolute stud, though. Absolutely love him. We're now going to go the Arizona Coyotes, and this, again, was another interesting choice because with Arizona, you could maybe go Jeremy Roenick. You could go with, why am I forgetting him? Keith Tkachuk, who was an absolute beast as well, power forward-wise. But to me, Shane Doan takes the cake. 1,540 games played, 972 points, 2012 Leadership Award Trophy winner, the Mark Messier, of course. And to me, Shane Doan, when we talk about career-wise, I mean, yeah, points-wise and points per game, he doesn't add up too much. But Arizona was horrible, and horrible for an incredibly long time. Basically, the entire time that Doan was there besides 2012. If we don't factor that year in, Arizona was a trash-heaping pile of trash, and they kind of still are right now. To me, Shane Doan was an incredibly underrated player, fantastic leader, fantastic overall person, and that's a player that exemplifies the great true hockey leader, great true hockey player, and I think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for sure. We're now going to go to the Vegas Golden Knights, and come on! There was no other answer here. You guys already know what's going on. The legend, the absolute MVP, Vadim Shipachyov. I mean, come on. There's no other answer here. No other answer. I don't even want to see you in the comments down below even debating this, because this is not even the question. The best Vegas Golden Knight of all time, Vadim Shipachyov. I mean, it's an absolute sham that he's not in the Hall of Fame. Yes, he's still playing the KHL, but do I care? No. He's a Hall of Fame. He should be a Hall of Famer as a builder, as a player, as a person, as a goddess, as a god, as a universe, as a meme, as what I need in life. That I just listed off so many reasons. I don't know why the heck the guy isn't in. It's an absolute disgrace to hockey, to the earth, to the universe that he's not in. There's nothing else to say. Get Vadim in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But that is going to be it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more hockey content just like this one. Hit that like button, hit that notification bell as well. Comment down below what you agree and disagree with, and who is the best player on your favorite team not in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Make sure you share this video as well with your friends. Get this video out here. It took a long time to complete, so hopefully you guys share it with your friends, anybody that you know that likes hockey. And click on this card as well for all the hockey rankings content right in one playlist. I have been talking for a long time, and I need a break, so I'll see you in the next video or stream. Goodbye.